Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Grace Hatfield with EHS Daily Advisor, and thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Faces of EHS. This is a segment where we feature environmental health and safety professionals and highlight their journeys and hear their thoughts about EHS trends and issues. Today, we are joined by Christine Sullivan, who is the president of the American Society of Safety Professionals. So, hi, Christine, how are you today?
Hello, how are you? I'm very glad to be here.
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. So, can you tell us a little bit about your position at ASSP and what you guys do as an organization?
Sure. So I am the president of the American Society of Safety Professionals, which is the largest safety organization for safety professionals in the world. We've got about 38,000 members, and I serve as the president of our board of directors. In addition to that, I actually am the senior vice president and risk control leader for Sompo International, which is a large multinational insurance company.
Awesome. So, let's jump right into it. How did you get your start in EHS?
So I was really fortunate to have the opportunity to intern with an insurance company in their loss control department or risk control. You might hear it both ways. I had just completed my junior year in college. This was the second internship I'd had. My degree is in human factors engineering, and my first internship I actually found a little bit boring. It was studying usability and focus groups. And I really enjoyed the insurance internship and the opportunity that I had there. And I continued that internship my entire senior year in college, and the rest is history. I've spent my entire career as a safety professional in the insurance industry.
Awesome. So, who's been your biggest influence in the industry?
That's a really hard question. There are a lot of people that have influenced me, right? And I think it's really hard to just choose one person. One of the things I've done throughout my career is really identified mentors and people that can really help me be better. Informal mentors, some I actually asked to be formal mentors, but each of those has a different role in my success and in what I do. I think it's really important, though, that I recognize Victor Sodillo. He is the leader that gave me that opportunity as a college intern and encouraged me to pursue the career that I currently have. And interestingly enough, 5 years ago, we started working together again, many, many years after my internship, and we lead a team of risk control professionals at Sompo. And I would say that without his support and his encouragement, I probably would not be doing what I'm doing, and I wouldn't have taken the career path I had.
Cool. So, what is your best mistake and what did you learn from it?
Tough question. I think everybody makes mistakes in their career. I know I've made many, and hopefully I've learned from all of them. I guess if I look at that and I go back to early in my career, I had moved down south to Atlanta, Georgia, and I was living and working as a female in the South. And at the time, females in the safety profession were not as prevalent as they are currently. Right. And so I really wanted to make a good impression. And I had a coworker who told me that females shouldn't be in this job.
Oh, wow.
So my reaction to that was to work twice as hard. But to be honest, there were times I shot from the hip rather than researching an answer. And to be honest, one of those occasions, my answer caused an issue that probably could have been prevented if I just stepped back instead of trying to respond so quickly because I was trying to show that I knew what I was doing, right? So
Mhm.
really, what it taught me is, have confidence in my ability, but don't be afraid to say you don't know, right? That lesson has served me really well throughout my career. That it's okay to ask questions and it's okay to tell someone, I don't know the answer right now, but I will get back to you, and then take the time to get the right answer rather than just, shooting from the hip.
Absolutely. So, what does it mean to you to be a woman working in EHS?
It's been an interesting part of my career, and I think it's something that as time has gone on, obviously there are much more women in EHS than there were when I started my career in the early '90s.
Mhm.
But as a woman in EHS, I really try to support and lift up other women in the field and help them reach their career goals. I think that's really important, right? And I think it's really important that we be those people, particularly as senior leaders, that can help other women get into the field and help them understand that this is a great career and it's something that you can do.
For sure. So, what is your favorite and least favorite part about working in the industry, and would you change anything?
So my favorite part is people. I love working with people, and that's I mentioned earlier that I my degree is in engineering, and parts of engineering, you don't get to work with people, right? Depending on what you're doing.
Hmm.
And I love working with the people. And as an insurance risk control person, I meet with different clients every single day, right? Different type of organizations, different clients, different people. And I really get to help and guide them to be better safety professionals, to be better risk management professionals, and to reduce the risk for their organizations. So that's my favorite part to me. It's really important that everyone at those organizations gets to go home to their families every day, right? We want people to go home in the same way they got there. I think for me, my least favorite part is probably when something happens, right? A
Hmm.
significant injury, an employee death, especially if it's one that I believe could have been prevented if the
Hmm.
company had been more willing to work on the issues, right? To me, that is my least favorite part. I think that is the frustrating part. And if I could change something, it would be how do you make those employers really understand and not have to wait for that aha moment, right? Because
Hmm.
typically it takes that aha moment, that significant injury, that death, before they're like, oh, wow, we really need to pay attention to this, right? So if I could change that, it would be how do we get them to really understand what's happening?
Absolutely. And speaking of leadership responsibility, what are your thoughts on safety culture and how can company leaders make safety a value within their organizations?
So, you hear the term safety culture a lot, and
Hmm.
I'm of the belief that safety culture needs to be part of the organization's overall culture. So it needs to be embedded in there, right? You don't just have quality culture and
Hmm.
profitability culture, right? It should be not just about safety, but what is your company's culture as a whole, and how does safety play a part in that role, right? So it should be part
Hmm.
of it. In order to be a value, it's got to be something that's addressed and talked about every day, just like the company does talk about profit or quality or customer service, right?
Hmm.
Safety can't just be a once a year training or addressing something only when an incident occurs. It's really got to become part of the everyday speak of the organization.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So, what safety concerns or issues do you think need more prioritization in EHS programs?
So, coming out of the pandemic, we continue to see a lot of issues and increases in mental health issues.
Yeah.
That is really an area that as safety professionals we've never focused before, but I
Hmm.
think it's an area that we need to look at. And not that we're going to become counselors or anything like that, but we really need to understand how those issues can play into people being safe at work. So
Hmm.
when you look at that, I look at it from a standpoint of what does total worker health looks like, and we need to start paying more attention to total worker health and make sure that that becomes a priority for safety professionals.
Hmm.
The second thing I would say is I think DEI continues to need more prioritization. Right, that is something that has been talked about, and at ASSP we've done some work on, and within my company organization we've worked on it as well. But I still think there's got to be more prioritization to really address what's happening in the workforce with underrepresented groups. I was just reading today about the construction accident that happened in Charlotte last week, and there were 3 Latino workers killed.
Oh, wow.
And one of the workers pointed out that well, safety slides because we're an immigrant workforce. That was an interesting message when I was reading that article. So I do think that that does need more prioritization.
For sure. And that kind of hits home for me too, as someone who's from Houston, Texas. We've got a lot of immigrant workforces here, and I know that that's a pretty common issue. So, speaking of DEI and total worker health, what will be the impact of ESG principles on the EHS industry?
So I think we are a ways off from companies really understanding that safety professionals can play a role in ESG.
Hmm.
Human capital, right, is a very important area of ESG. And really, if you think about what safety professionals do, keeping people safe at the job, making sure people get home from work safely at night,
Hmm.
their entire focus is on human capital in many cases, right? So to me, that's an area that safety professionals can and should be involved in. We need
Hmm.
to help the organizations that we work for understand how that we can help them impact that piece.
Absolutely. And kind of to pivot just a little bit, how will new safety technologies influence the work being done by EHS professionals?
So I think there's a lot of safety technologies that are constantly being introduced. And
Hmm.
there's a lot of technology that's being refined, right, to be more effective. Some of the things like wearables, you'll see that that's getting more and more refined as people experiment with it and try to use it and things like that. Computer vision is another one that I've been following pretty closely, and I've got a couple of clients that are piloting different options with computer vision.
Cool.
And I think I see that technology doing a better job of predicting future incidents. So we talk a lot about predictive analytics from a data standpoint, but what can
Mhm.
this computer vision do where it can help us predict potential incidents, which will help drive the focus of the safety professional. So I think there's a lot of technology opportunities that are going to make the safety professional be more pointed and more focused in areas that they can have a true impact.
Cool. And then to go back to you personally, what are you most proud of?
I have to say I'm most proud of my family.
Mhm.
I have 3 children, and as a working mom, I've worked really hard to be able to balance the needs of my job, the needs of my volunteer role at American Society of Safety Professionals, with the needs of my family, and being able to raise 3 children and do this. And I guess you asked me earlier about being a woman in the safety profession. Part of what I want people to know is you can do this, right? You can be a
Mhm.
mom, you can be a safety professional. And I try to show that and lead that way so that people understand, yeah, you can do both.
Absolutely. And then my last question is, do you have any advice for people entering the safety profession?
I think one thing I would tell people is, find a mentor, find that person that can be your sounding board. And the other thing I would say is don't be afraid to say yes to something, right? If somebody asks you to do something, don't be afraid to say yes, even if you're not sure. For me, I said yes to ASSP. Very early in my career, somebody asked me, "Hey, do you want to be the chapter treasurer?" And I was like, sure, right? But say yes, because I will tell you my involvement with ASSP and everything I've done with ASSP has only enhanced my career development, right? By learning to lead and working with different types of people and different types of organizations, it's given me that opportunity. I think the third thing I would say is never stop learning. I'm a big believer that you have to continuously learn and take the time, learn something new every single day.
100%. Yeah. So, thank you so much for your time. I'm super grateful to have had this opportunity to get to know you and hear your insights, and I'm sure our audience will love everything you have to say.
Thank you.